either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Weird MicroViews. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And today we are covering a movie that, at least for me, is a little nostalgic. Or, I haven't at least seen it since, middle school, so...
Yes, this is not a nostalgic film for me. I had seen it long ago. I own the VHS copy from childhood.
Yes.
However, I think I saw it once as a child and was like, I do not like this movie. And, didn't watch it again until college.
Okay. Well, this week we are doing 1988's Big, a movie about a kid who wishes to be big, but as all genie wishes go wrong, he is forced to grow up real quick.
I do like certain elements of this movie a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Zoltar genie wish. I like the genie wish logic, because he does get his wish.
Yeah.
And then, this is very 80s and 90s, wish bullshit equal movie.
Mm-hmm.
13 Going on 30, similar concept. We had a lot of these, really.
Yeah.
It's a small genre of wishes gone wrong.
Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday is another good example.
Yeah. So Big is directed by Penny Marshall. It's written
Yes.
by Gary Ross and Ann Spielberg. It stars Tom Hanks, Elizabeth Perkins, Robert Loggia, and Jared Rushton. This is actually the second feature film for Marshall, directing at least.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not familiar with any of her other works other than I know they directed A League of Their Own, which I haven't seen.
Yes, you would very much like her work. She's only done about 7 other movies, I think, about. But I distinctly remember having a friend group who really enjoyed her work and kind of went through and got through all of her stuff.
Okay. I guess it just wasn't a circle that I've been in yet.
Again, if you like Big and you like League of Their Own, you're going to enjoy most of her other work.
Okay. But she is better known as Laverne DeFonso and Laverne from Laverne and Shirley. And
Yes.
also she's uncredited as the Master's wife in Hocus Pocus.
Ah, delightful.
Yeah, the one who chases them out with her curls.
Yes.
Yeah, that's who directed Big.
Perfect.
As for Ross, Big was his first feature film, but he would later write and direct many movies such as Pleasantville. He was a writer on Seabiscuit, The Tales of Despereaux, The Hunger Games, Free State of Jones, and Ocean's 8.
Boy, those are some big titles.
Yes, especially going from Big.
Big
Big
into
titles.
the rest of those. But Big itself was a pretty big movie.
Yeah.
So, I can see it. It's not a out of the blue jump.
No, exactly. And I guess this was the turning point for Tom Hanks as well as an actor.
Yeah, this is the true start. He'd done some others before, but this is the first time where he was really recognized and appreciated for his stand-ups, family-friendly comedies, where he is playing the good, sweet guy. A lot of people have recently come back and been yes, Tom Hanks is a fantastic actor. We love him. We do kind of miss the, true family-friendly version, but I get it. All actors and comedians grow and change.
Yeah.
But, this is baby Tom Hanks.
Yes. Real quick, back to Spielberg. This is their one and only theatrical film they've written.
Yes.
But back to Tom Hanks. Around this time, the only thing that he had been in before this that I know of and haven't seen yet is The Money Pit. But this is we're talking before he's making 2 to 3 movies a year, which I didn't realize how many movies this man makes. He's on the same level as Cage.
Yes, and there's a reason for that. Similar to Cage, the man spends money.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Cage, he's much better about spending money. And about not being in the public spotlight because of that money. But yes, he also is, as most people know, one of Hollywood's sweethearts, well known for being interactive and kind and sweet to his fans, continuing on with the family-friendly, even if now a little less PG, version of himself. And I think a lot of people, especially since they grew up with him, have, really appreciated seeing him continue on, even though he has changed and, matured, especially with his audience. A lot of people, this is how they remember him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up with Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail, and then Big was kind of the third
the background.
one.
Yeah. A lot of people, like, this is the sort of thing, or, like, his little romance, rom-com sort of stuff. And then they started getting into, like, the cameos of, you know, Zombieland and all that sort of stuff.
Was he in Zombieland?
He's, like, briefly in the first one. Like, doesn't he pretend to be a zombie?
No, that's Bill Murray.
Oh, that is Bill Murray. Similar concept.
How the fuck do you get those two mixed up?
You people do not understand. The amount of face blindness that I have is so unreal, I probably would not recognize my own parents.
I'm just...
But yes, similar concept.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
Similar concept.
In regards to Perkins, this was her third movie, and honestly, I don't know any of her other work, but I guess she was one of the main characters in Weeds, Finding Nemo as Coral, and she was the doctor in The Ring 2 as a small bit piece. That's, like, the only thing I know her from outside of this movie.
Yeah, honestly, same. Like, most of her work has been... Like, she's in movies, she's not starring in movies, so... Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how Logia is, too, for a bit. He previously was in Scarface, The Greatest Story Ever Told. He was in a handful of Hitchcock television productions, as well as he was in the Pink Panther. This man has 234 acting credits.
Yeah, the Pink Panther will do that to you.
And unfortunately, this is like the only movie I remember him from.
I love Pink Panther, especially like the old Pink Panther. I like the reboot, but like the old ones got my heart. So like I recognize him, but it's kind of in that fun like, oh, it's that guy from the Pink Panther.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the old Pink Panthers still.
They are very vaudeville-y in their slapstick humor. It's
okay.
Very cute.
As for Rushton, he was in a couple things before this one of which being Overboard. Mm-hmm. And the only other thing of note that he's been in that, shocker, I have not seen, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
You are not missing out. But if you would like to borrow it on VHS, I do have it.
I've seen enough of it.
That's all you need. That one, I think the true joy of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is seeing it and then immediately jumping to the sequels that were like, clearly someone went, okay, this made me money. How can I rewrite it in a very slightly different fashion? Yeah,
and a little more on the nose of, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids again. Or Honey, I Blew Up the Kids.
Yes, like, it's very stupid, silly, but like, I see it. Yeah. I see how this can translate. We're in the same vein. We're same genre.
Yeah, I guess.
It's family-friendly, good, clean fun. Manages to be in all of the home theaters.
That's the only reason I knew it, is I occasionally see it on TV, pieces of it on TV.
Yes, so. Exactly.
Yeah. But Big. This movie is...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Way different watching it as an adult.
Boy! I feel like not just watching it as an adult, because I went through and, like, asked friends and family who... Because, like, again, this was not my jam as a child. I was much more into, like, the animated movies or, like, just pure feralness. So, I went through and asked friends, families, colleagues, how they felt about it. And it was unanimous how much people loved this movie and how much they remember so fondly this movie. The only person who brought up, without being prompted, the uncomfortableness that comes now with this movie was my dear husband, who I think is now conditioned to, like, look at things with a critical eye because of me and my movie choices.
Well, I actually was talking. He called me a little bit earlier before we started recording, and he's like, make sure you bring this up, and I'm like, it's already on my list, man.
It is on the list. So yeah, when y'all were shaming me for liking the musical where they kidnap women and take them into the woods to get married, I am now shaming all of you for Weird Children, for the Weird Children movie.
We both decided on this one together.
We did. We did. But now I get to criticize all of you because this is not my favorite movie.
It's not my favorite movie either.
But it is a lot of people. Like, a lot of people love this movie to this day.
Yeah, I mean, I can see. I mean, it is dripping with nostalgia. It's got like your classic. Not even video games, because the video games are even before our time, really.
There's a little bit of video game in this.
But the video games that they have are like the old, like, Coleco, like, they bring up Coleco in it.
Yes.
And, like...
There's a lot of arcade references.
And the game the computer game he's playing in the beginning is actually a real game called The Cavern of the Evil Wizard.
Yes, and we have to wait the entire movie to find out, like, what he clicks next.
Well, and it's also a text-based game, so it's like the old school dungeon crawler and the old school, like, choose your own adventure kind of stuff.
Very much so. And, like, the toys are very nostalgic. The costuming is on point for this movie. It looks great. It is, the whole thing, I can see the nostalgic take.
Yeah, and just, like, rewatching it, it has a little bit of a culture shock value to it, too, where they're asking, or when he gets hired, he's like, do you smoke? Which you don't hear that really much anymore in the regard they're talking about.
Yeah, especially for, like, a company office that, like, produces toys. Like, none of these people are going to be on the face of any of these toys. They're not going to be on commercials. Like, this is purely, like, a big office, and I cannot comprehend being asked that question in a, like, office setting for hiring.
Oh, no, not anymore.
I also love that this child manages to just walk into a big, like, New York City company. Mm-hmm. No references, no resume, just walks in as like, I would like a job.
Well, and also that's the other thing too. Apply in person.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't see that anymore.
You physically cannot apply in person. It is not possible.
But yeah, that is the other thing too of like, you're missing a couple digits on your social security number.
Yeah, like there's so much faith in humanity shown in this movie. It's very sweet. It's very wholesome. I do like that there is a nice, like, realism to, like, oh, it's the 80s and you can just kind of get away with this sort of shit, but also a slight suspension of reality because, like, he gets a paycheck. He gets his first paycheck. It's fine. Gets his second paycheck, moves into, like, a nice apartment.
To be fair, he did get a promotion between his first paycheck and his second paycheck.
What fucking kind of promotion is that? And also, like,
to like one of the executive positions.
Okay, I've never lived in New York City. Make that very clear. So I cannot speak from experience for New York, but I assume it is similar to around here parts where you need like a year or two prior showing that you make enough money, there's credit checks, like, you don't just walk in and like, hey, I have some cash now. So give me an apartment.
I've got an answer to that and the rest of the movie as well.
Okay, I would love to hear it.
This movie makes no sense.
It doesn't.
And it's also messed up if you don't think about it, or if you try, or where am I going with it?
If you try and think about it.
But if you view this movie with the logic of a child.
Yes. It
makes all the sense in the world. Of course he got a pay raise. He'd go into the nicer apartment. And also the way the house he lives in.
Yes.
The gaudy ass wallpaper.
It's so bad. But I remember that wallpaper.
And on top of that, like when she's showing him the apartment of like, oh, it's very modern. There's sleek lines.
Yeah. And, like, then he fills it with the most, like, and, like, immediately, too. Because this movie's fairly quick. It only takes place it takes a week, right?
Something like that. Well, movie timeline, yeah.
Yeah, the movie timeline takes about a week. So, in a week, ish.
I don't think it takes, like, it takes, like, almost a month and a half.
Okay, so, in a month and a half, I am fully kid logicking, understanding the logic of he goes from not having a job and living in a shitty hotel room to have a job, to have an apartment, but then is also furnished a said apartment with, I mean, even at 80s money, some expensive ass shit. But kid logic shit, which is fun. That's humorous, very clever.
Well, on top of that, I have a feeling some of this is a stipend from the toy company.
I would love that.
Yeah, or on loan.
I could see that as well.
That's at least my theory. But the reason I know the timeline is because when they hand in his paperwork to, like, get, what is it? When they're trying to... I'm trying to remember exactly what they're doing. But they're filing paperwork, and they said, it's going to be about 4 to 6 weeks, plus 2 weeks, if you're lucky.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So inflation calculator.
So his first paycheck, I don't remember the exact amount, but it's around the $180-ish mark for that first paycheck where he's like, holy shit, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And as adults, we're like, that is not a lot of money. I had to run the inflation calculator because, like, I want to know. So per the inflation calculator, that's around $650, $660-ish for a first paycheck. So, like, alright, I can now see it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think even nowadays kids would be like, I did a whole week's worth and I got $150.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
You make that money shoveling yards.
Well, it's also kind of the reversal of, like... Because he is a 12-year-old. He's not like a 16-year-old who gets his first paycheck and is disappointed.
That's true.
He's 12. Happy.
He is 12.
Exactly.
Yes.
But yeah, that's kind of where, like, the nostalgic portion of this movie wears off because...
Okay. Granted, again, Tom Hanks, phenomenal actor. And, like, we are in young Tom Hanks, so he is full of being the cutest little version of himself physically possible. The relationship is still weird, though, right?
A bit.
It's, like, a bit. Because, like, again, we get the nice Tom Hanks filter put over it.
So Tom Hanks is older than us in this movie.
Yeah, he doesn't look it, does he?
No, not at all.
He looks like a 20-year-old.
And to be fair, he's older than us by like a year or so.
Yeah, I'm still like, okay, you look at this, you look at that baby face on the front cover and you tell me that man is 32 in this film. He does not look it.
No.
That is the baby face of a sweet young 21-year-old.
Yeah. Well, so the weird parts of this movie really pick up early on, especially with like his friend where there's the first line that got me. His friend says something along the lines of, where'd he get a sister like that? Okay.
Did you ever watch the extended, like, the cut scenes from this movie?
I watched the extended version of this.
Okay. So that included the cut scenes?
No.
Then? Okay, so there are some cut scenes that a lot of people who are, like, really into this movie feel are crucial to understanding the side character.
Yeah.
And those, unfortunately, were cut because they are the most depressing scenes in the movie.
I wanted to get to those in a bit, but yes, the extended cut version, yeah. I wish they had kept his a little bit because it explains a little bit more of why he's hanging around him all the time.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the creepy things I wanted to bring up is like watching this from an adult is it's not like he's just showing up to hang out at his apartment. He's showing up to his place of work. He's hanging out with this kid all the time. Like,
yes.
That kind of throws up some pretty big red flags of like, you're a CEO. Well, and I guess he applied and he called him his son, so I guess they can throw that up there. But
and like it is the 80s, and so like being inappropriate to your coworkers was normal.
Yeah.
There was not the hard line of like, I'm going home, goodbye, Mr. Boss.
Yeah.
Like this was still the age where like the boss came over for dinner as part of you getting a promotion.
True.
I assume. I don't know, I wasn't around. But like, according to movies, that's what you did.
Yeah, I guess.
And the other thing, the side characters in general in this movie are all well and flushed out. Granted, some have more kid logic applied than others. However, the only character to walk in or out of this film without any severe damage, it appears, is Tom Hanks' character, Josh.
Yeah, I mean...
His best friend has the most fucked up life a poor little child could ask for.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, there's like one additional scene where his friend's like at dinner and his mom's bitching and complaining that the dad's a deadbeat and that no one's doing anything in the family besides her while he's the one who's actively like setting the table and doing all the work around the house. Like he's actually being the responsible one outside of his mom.
Yes. And like the only character that is like even partially there that doesn't really have anything going on is the like young love interest. And she's like barely in the movie.
Yeah, she's there for like one scene and then of course he grows up, or two scenes.
Yeah, two scenes, the very beginning and the very end.
Yeah, the only side character I will say that I don't think got a good development, and the way they developed him in the extended stuff doesn't really work, it's Macmillan, the owner of the company, which
he's dry. Yeah.
He's very dry, but on top of that, like the one additional scene they have is like him kind of like breaking down and like, oh, why they just don't care like they used to back in the day. It's very curmudgeon, like It's kind of
It is.
not curmudgeon, miserly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree there. I think honestly we kind of ran out of time and dialogue to develop anyone else, because like we squeeze a lot of development in a relatively short film. Yeah. It's only 104 minutes long for the theater, 130 for extended. Yeah. So like,
but still, it's 2 hours to fully develop everything. I think they do a good enough job with it. Because, I mean, even Susan gets a development as she's this woman who's, like, trying to make it in technically a man's world at this point. Yes. On top of that, like, she has a development of going from also being kind of this cold-hearted businesswoman to finding her inner child, too. Yeah, yeah. She's gonna need therapy after this movie, but yeah. Yeah, because she's also got a child in her.
Yeah, see, that's the part that most people immediately are like, yeah, okay, if you're gonna be weird about it, but like, I'm not being weird about it, the movie makes it weird.
Yeah, no, exactly, because like, I granted, so the last time I saw this was in middle school, like, probably before The Talk. So
yeah, okay, so here's...
And I gotta rephrase, my middle school started in 5th grade.
Yes. So like, yours started before a lot of people's. Yes. But still, okay, here's the thing. I think this entire movie could still work exactly as written with only one minor change. They don't sleep together.
Yeah, and that's
She just sleeps over.
That is what I was hoping the extended edition
would do.
Fixed.
No.
But no.
It sure as fuck does not.
The moment he's hopping out of the elevator, I'm like, oh, okay,
yeah, like...
Didn't change.
No, it does not. Which is disappointing, and like, a lot of people are like, well, it's the 80s, and it was a different time, and like, that sort of thing wasn't on the radar. No. No excuses. It's fucking weird. And it could have been a very, very easy fix. Mm-hmm. And we still could have had the whole, like, she's learned to love herself, and to let loose, and enjoy life again.
She's opened herself up to her inner child.
Yeah, as opposed to this. And like, don't get me wrong, I like that we have given all of the rest of the miserable people a reason for being the miserable people they are. Don't get me wrong there. I agree that the theatrical version is a much less depressing watch.
Yes. No, I don't recommend the extended edition, but
you need to really like this movie and then be ready to be upset to watch the extended.
So here's the thing I will say about her character, because when she does seduce, or when they do get it on, yes, she doesn't know he's a 13-year-old.
See, okay, that is a lot of people's logic as well. And in the movie world, I agree. However, a writer had to write this. Yeah. This had to go past many people.
No, exactly.
A lot of people looked at this and said, okay.
Which is weird, because, like, what is this movie rated, like, PG or something?
No, it's not even PG-13, it's PG, which is impressive, because I think there is one fuck. Like, the word fuck is said once in this movie.
I don't think PG-13 was
I don't think it was.
Or it was in the early days, as if anything.
Yeah, it wasn't a big enough deal. And, like, they got away with their one. So there's just the one cuss word. There's no violence. There's no titties. A lot of implied titties, but no titties.
There's bra shot.
Not titties.
It's enough to excite a 13-year-old.
You know what? The ankles could excite a 13-year-old, as we learn in this film, so...
Yeah. Well, here's some other funny things that I think I saw when I was rewatching it. So, just her facial expressions when she doesn't realize he's a kid. Yes. Is when he asked her to jump on the trampoline. The way she looks at him, she looks at him like, okay, like, because she thinks she's gonna sleep with him this night. And then he asks her to jump on the trampoline, like it's some type of weird fetish that he likes watching the skirt bounce up and down.
Yes,
or something.
This poor woman is confused to all hell. And, like, again, the acting is phenomenal. She does a great job of portraying just not knowing what is happening, being as confused as all get out, not trying to give away any of her character development. She does a great job. Yeah. And, again, Tom Hanks does an amazing job of pretending to be a 13-year-old in an adult body.
And here's why I think they thought they could, why it would work, is because the reason she falls for him isn't because he's trying to sleep with her. It's because he's saying the right things, and he doesn't know he's saying the right things because he's a pure, innocent little 13-year-old.
Yeah, it's very true.
And he's a man who didn't want her for her body from the get-go.
That is true, and that is something that I do wish the movie had spent a little bit more time breaking down and, like, then, building back up, is from the moment he walks into the office, the toy office, it is made abundantly clear that the, like, 2 women who work here are seen as just sexual objects. Like, it is implied that you speak to one of them and she will go and sleep with you.
Yes.
Which, like, the movie gives us no reason to think this is not true, but, like, again, we don't get to, like, develop that idea at all. Like, it's all from the boys' club side of the story.
Very much so.
Very much so.
Yeah. The boys' side.
Yes! Because, like, again, like, if this movie is taking the stance that this is all from a 13-year-old boy's perspective, then, like, a lot of this is being filtered from the men in his life. And so, like, I can see that. I kind of wish the movie had gone through and been like, and afterwards he grew and realized that just because a woman goes on a date in the office does not make her a slut.
Yeah.
Like, we could have gone a little bit more there, but, like, again, this is the 80s. That might be too much. That might be asking too much.
Well, and I also feel sorry for Susan, too, just because, like, how fucked up is that at the end? Because
my god, poor Susan.
Because this woman is left, and it's hinted that she'll probably never find love like this again.
No, okay, there was a common misconception, and there still is. There is a I think it was either straight to home video or just for TV movie that is incredibly similar to Big. And its ending has the character who is essentially Susan also get turned back into a child, implying that him and his crush both accidentally become adults and both come back to being kids. And so they get to grow up together.
I don't like it.
Some people felt that it made Susan better, and it made the whole thing less icky. And I can see the romantic ideal of, like, you know, young love, growing together, that whole thing. I get it. But that's not what happens in any version of this film. There is no deleted scene. There is nowhere in the writing that it was ever mentioned. That was a different film that people have gotten cross-wired. And so, poor Susan, this Susan, is now have to live with the understanding that A, she will never find true love again unless she decides to marry down. And really far.
And no man will ever live up to this child.
To a literal... he's not even 13. He's 12 until, like, the last minute of the movie. It's, like, the very end that he turns 13.
Kind of. It's like right before it's about halfway through the movie, I'd say.
Yeah, that's not helping.
It's better than, like, him... It's better than him turning 13, like, the day before everything.
Yeah.
Still not great.
Not great. And so poor Susan now has to live with the fact that not only is she now a criminal, but she will never find love again.
Yeah. And also there's the line that he says to her that honestly is kind of devastating. He has a million reasons to go and one reason to stay, and you ain't worth a million reasons to stay, honey.
Devastating! Yeah, no, your dating life is over, Susan. Be prepared to be the singlest single you've ever been.
Yeah, and honestly, I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, this is like Tom Hanks's B movie.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Bit. Because, and that's the thing too, is like the movie kind of feels like a little bit of a commentary on pushing kids to grow up, as well as a commentary on adults being out of touch with their childish side, or like
completely
learning to live, or like enjoy life.
I completely agree. And I think it does have a lot of really good dialogue there. There's a lot of good, like, imagination around that. I do think that the film, for sake of comedy, does skirt around those issues just a little bit too much to, like, properly for you to be like, and this movie is about those problems.
Yeah, no, exactly. It does it in a very nice, cutesy way.
Yes, where, like, I could see if someone was to come to me nowadays and be like, hey, did you know Big was based off of a movie? And all of the, like, deep, like, philosophical issues that the movie barely hints on are in the book.
A movie based on a movie, imagine.
Yeah, kind of.
I thought you meant movie based on book.
Yeah, well.
A movie based on a movie, we call that a remake.
Well, yes, honestly. Either way, it could be anything. And if there was, like, a source material out there that, like, had the rest of the pieces, I would be like, okay, I see it. I see how we turned it down. I see how we made this for, 80s family fun. But there's not. Yeah. Which is a little disappointing. And I feel like a lot of the remakes for it. Some of them obviously were just going for the cash grab of like tee funny. Some of them were trying to like reevaluate those topics that Big touches, but we have since let this genre die for good reasons. And so we have not, I don't think there is a movie that has come back around and really addressed these specific topics of finding your happiness when you're older, of what it's like to find love without just physical attraction. I don't think there has been a redo of the concept of this movie where that's the focus.
I didn't even know there were remakes. I did zero research.
They're not really remakes. It's like a very incredibly niche genre.
Reimagining kind of thing, or
just like someone else was like, what if a child suddenly became an adult? What if you had the power to warp time? And like, it's not really like, it's not a hard enough topic for someone to say like, oh, that is clearly owned and like presented by the original this movie. Well, but it's also, like, specific enough that it's weird it happened twice. Sort of thing, you know?
Well, you know what? I do want a joke remake version of this. Or at least even a trailer.
Yes.
Where they scale up the boy. Don't even make him look older. Just
make him larger.
Make him taller, like kind of how they did with Dinklage in the Avengers movies.
Where it just looks like two children sitting on top of each other's shoulders.
Yes, actually that'd be
hilarious.
That would be a good trailer / remake. It's him and his buddy. They have the clever idea that they're going to be adults, but they're going to pretend to be two adults in a trench coat.
They just giggle to each other the whole way down to New York. I'd watch that.
Do it like Mrs. Doubtfire, where they both have different interests and are talking with different people.
That'd be so
And they have to constantly like switch up.
Okay, see, the possibilities are there, people.
Just don't make a grown woman screw a 13-year-old in a boy's body.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
I described this movie to your husband as it's like Forrest Gump if he was smarter and more energetic.
See, the difference with Forrest Gump is those were both adults, consenting adults.
Yeah, I know.
And yes, one of them had a disability, but that did not impede his understanding of what was happening. He knew full well what he was doing.
I mean, the very first scene, or when Forrest Gump goes to Jenny's dorm, that first scene,
yeah, okay.
It's a very awkward scene.
Well, Forrest Gump is awkward, so like, you know. But yeah, this is a little weird. But like you mentioned, it does have a lot of really good ways of portraying these niche topics that I would like to see revisited, because I do think like Office Place dynamics.
Elf
does a good job of Office Place dynamics, actually.
Well, and also like bringing out your inner child, not growing up too quickly.
Elf, I fucking hate you did this. My husband's favorite Christmas movie of all time is Elf, and I don't hate Elf. But the main actor is on the list of people who give me the weird face ick. There's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with his acting. There is just something about the way his face looks that makes my brain go, no.
He's a better looking Ron Perlman.
Yeah. See, the thing with Ron Perlman is 90% of the time he's covered in prosthetics.
True.
So you can't look directly at him.
Yeah.
And like then when it's actually Ron Perlman on screen, I'm like, I know that man. But I don't know what from what.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, yes, I completely 100% agree. Elf is big, but done in an appropriate and more thought out manner.
It's got some inappropriate moments too.
It does, but you know what? It's all adults. And the 2 children in the movie are like actually children who like go to school and are not brought into the inappropriateness.
Fair. Buddy the Elf he
is a grown-ass man.
And I think this is the second movie in a row where we've brought up a movie that has Zooey Deschanel, or brought her up.
That's true, but you know, how can you avoid her?
Yeah. But there is one other aspect to this movie that I think gets overlooked and overshadowed quite a bit.
Okay.
The mother.
Oh, I completely agree. This poor woman is going through the worst month of her life.
Yeah. And she only shows up like twice. Like that would be an interesting thing. We only see her get pissy at him. Also, magically his underwear still is the same.
I noticed
he tears out his clothes.
I noticed that as well. Them some stretchy spandex undies.
Impressive.
And like, I kind of get it, because, like, kids' clothing is stretchy.
Yeah.
It is meant to, like, warp to the point where it is unusable.
Mm-hmm.
Because kids do grow fast, but that is some impressive undies.
Impressive that it's taken decades to bring up the stretchy pants into menswear.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, jeans are now flex fit.
Y'all are gonna enjoy that so much. Welcome.
Oh, it's awesome.
We love them. That's why all of the ladies are like, fuck it, I want leggings and only leggings.
Yeah, but no, like, honestly, I, like, rewatching it, it's like, okay, yeah, that's really scary that this dude is pretending to be your kid when you first see him, and then he calls her a couple times.
Ransom, style. Yeah, the thing, though, I do love about his mom is in true 80s fashion, she has had a child, from her point of view, stolen from her home, and she still leaves the door unlocked.
Jeez, when was Richard Ramirez? It's about this time,
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, there was plenty of evidence by this, because this movie came out in 88, so it's not even early 80s.
Active between 84 and 85.
Okay, so, like, surely she has listened to the radio or the news once in the last year, right?
This is the era of, like, the satanic panic. We're at the end of what's the golden age of serial killers.
She lives close enough to New York City that her 13-year-old managed to get there in one piece. And he didn't have to take a plane.
Yep.
So, like, girl, lock your door. At least lock your front door. From an 80s perspective, I can understand the back door.
Yeah.
If she lived in the country, I could understand just giving up and letting death come to you by not locking any door. And leaving your windows open. For hell, why not? This girl lives in, like, downtown. I know she's not in the city, but she is close enough that she could reach out her window and touch her neighbor's home.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is that one scene too, where, like, they have the little thing to exchange notes at night and stuff, even though they got walkie-talkies.
I do appreciate that, because that does, like, add to the 80s nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like, a lot. But, like, yeah, from everyone but the main character's point of view, this was the worst month of their life.
Yeah, no,
because, like,
exactly.
even the boss, who doesn't get, like, any development, he just found the golden child for his company. He's going to pass on the company to this man eventually.
Yeah.
And then he goes missing.
Exactly. Poof.
Poof.
Gone.
Gone. You're never going to replace who you thought of as a son.
No, here's what you do. If you are really dedicated, as that woman is, you pretend like you're out talent hunting, stumble upon this kid, hire him as the test audience, and, like, bring him up as literally a golden child.
That's
boom.
That's what
you're also keeping an eye on your future hopeful husband.
Weird. But, like, it's also implied that, like, he's still in love with his young crush.
No, it's not, because he by the end of the movie, he's completely over it. He says that he'll always remember her. And yeah.
Yeah, in 80s language, that does imply that, like, he will forever love just her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. 80s rom-com logic, I see where you're going.
Yeah, give it 6 more years.
God, I hate that, but yeah, you're right.
Barely legal.
I hate it. Partially because I've just gotten done watching a whole bunch of documentaries about, like, weird cults in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Where that legal age is real sketchy.
Yeah.
So, like, I hate it. I hate it.
I know. I was very curious how you would respond to it after I rewatched this and saw that, oh, wait, she does screw him.
Yeah. Okay, there is something else about this movie that is very under-talked about, but it is a feature that I think this is a primary example of it, and it is something that we should, I think, moving forward, keep an eye for.
Okay.
The 80s magic system. It is soft. It is gentle. It makes no goddamn logic. It takes him a full night to turn into an adult. It takes him seconds to turn into a child again. It is very, like, romanticized.
Does it take all night for him to turn into an adult? He goes to bed and wakes up.
We do see his mom sneak in to get the baby, who's crying.
So, it could happen partway through the night, or, like, right before he wakes up.
But maybe. Maybe. Again, this is, like, 80s soft magic, and it is something that I have noticed in not just, like, these sorts of, like, goofy, family-friendly movies, but also in movies that are meant to be magical, where, like, the magic system is so soft, so underspoken. Yeah. It is done in these, like, soft sweep cuts. There is no tingling sound. There is no magical bubbles. It is just kind of like
cut.
Poof.
Which, imagine him showing up and he's wearing a grown man's suit too.
I am surprised this woman did not lose her fucking mind. But like, this sort of magic is something that I do plan on keeping my eyes open for going forward with 80s movies. Because it is something that I have noticed more and more, because it permeates almost all of the genres.
Jaws 4, The Revenge, but I think that was a 90s movie.
I believe I think Jaws 3 was in the 90s.
Jaws 3D was 80s.
Okay, alright.
And Jaws 4 was 87, so yes, 80s magic.
So there might be 80s magic happening in Jaws. I don't remember. I wasn't looking. But now that it is something that I have brought into my own subconscious, I will be looking for it more, because I do think this very specific style of, like, soft magic, which you could argue even extends into, like, true magic films like Labyrinth and stuff, where it's, like, a very soft styling of magic, as opposed to, like, hard, visible magic that we see more now. Because we have CGI now.
Yeah, we could actually see him shrink down. Yeah,
and I think that is part of this nostalgic love, is the style.
Yeah. No, and I get that. I mean, it's creepy rewatching, but...
It is. I mean, it is. There are parts that are very cute and very sentimental. But there's also some very creepy moments. But it also touches on some really good points. So, like, it is a very mixed bag.
I can't wait for my mom to listen to this episode.
I feel like if you love this movie and no one has pointed out how weird this movie is, I'm so sorry, but I feel like everyone else has had this conversation before, and much like me and my favorite musical, we agree it is bad. That's why we watch it secretly to ourselves, and we will not be passing this one on.
Yeah. So, this comes to the end of our micro-review, so... Our segment, Rent, Buy, Stream or Decline that you ever watched it despite having an audio recording of us watching it, Chris.
Okay. So, as our friends have kids, and we must be a little bit more conscious about what we show them, there are some relics from the past that I do think is important to pass on to them. And there are some, like this one, like my favorite musical, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, that while I love dearly, and I will watch this, I will stream this, I am not going to stream for them.
Okay.
So, with that said, if this is on TV, I will watch it. That's not a problem. I own it on VHS tape, and I occasionally do put it in. I don't think there is anything new to going out and buying this, though.
See, I would say only buy it if you really love it, because I think this movie is definitely... I'd say it's still worth a rent or a stream for me. It has its charms, and it's a bit dated, and it doesn't really hold up as much with an adult lens, and I do think, though, that now that I have, like, rewatched it and it's fresh in my mind, I'm about to go see my in-laws and my brother and sister-in-law, and this is something that I would potentially be like, hey, I know all of you have seen this already. Let's rewatch it so that you all can be uncomfortable together. Brian will hate you so much for that.
He will, but Paul will have a great time.
Yeah, but I think this one falls in line kind of with what we talk about in Braveheart and The Patriot, where it's a fun movie, but it's not what I remembered as much.
Yes, we have modern versions of this that do it better.
Okay.
And those, I think, are what I'm going to, like, pass on to people who haven't seen this. But again, if you've seen this, it is kind of funny to rewatch it and be disgusted in what you thought was good.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, but anyway, this has been The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Micro-Reviews.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the good, the bad, and the weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always, check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace!